The plea drifted through the void for years before any human receiver caught it. At first, it was nothing more than a thin pulse of soundless longing wrapped in static. Yet even before translation, it shook the analysts who listened to it. Something in the tone felt like a trembling hand. Reaching upward from deep water dot, the message came from a world that no human ship had ever visited. All known maps left that cluster blank. Still, the call repeated in slow, regular intervals. Every cycle carried the same whispered meaning. The people there begged for guardians. They begged for someone strong enough to stand between them and the darkness. They begged for beings who could endure what they could not. What they did not know was that Earth had no guardians left. It had monsters who learned to walk upright after generations of surviving the harshest world in known space. The past centuries turned humanity into something neither noble nor gentle. They grew precise, resistant, unbreakable. When other civilizations watched Earth rise from its cradle, they whispered that no creature should hold such endurance. A council on the orbital fortress reviewed the transmission. 3 officers sat in the dim chamber, illuminated by a soft blue table glow. Their names were Mara, Rin, and Hal. They were trained to remain cold during deliberation. Yet each felt a spark of curiosity when the translation scrolled across the display. The message was sent by a people who called themselves the Ithil. They lived on a world rich with forests and water. Their bones were light. Their voices carried a soft melodic rise. Yet something hunted them with patience. Something larger than their villages. Something they could not confront alone. Mara leaned forward and traced the repeating cycle with her eyes. She believed that Earth should answer. Rin believed that Earth should ignore it. Hale waited for more evidence. The council chamber pulsed with silence as the officers imagined the implications. Mara remembered a time when humanity begged others for help and received none. Rin remembered a time when humanity extended help to others and was punished for it. Hale remembered both and measured the cost. After a long pause, Hale approved a single expedition, not to guard and not to promise peace, but to determine why a peaceful world pleaded for strength from a race known for brutality. A small fleet prepared to depart. The flagship was called Resolve. Since names often carried stories, humans used simple ones. Resolve did not make claims. Resolve acted. The ship crewed 100 trained soldiers and a handful of researchers. Among them was a man named Terran. He had no remarkable history beyond survival. His parents died during a storm collapse on a frontier station. He grew through academy ranks with a quiet way of observing everything. His endurance was measured not in muscle, but in how he refused to yield. Next was Lena, a pilot who saw every sky as a test waiting to be solved. She handled ships like extensions of her own will. If danger waited ahead, she would carry them through. The third notable member was Yalin, a heavy exo-operator. He was a mountain in human shape, calm but unstoppable when provoked. His armor was built to withstand gravity shifts strong enough to crush lighter beings. They set course for the Ithil world. As Resolve glided across the final stretch of empty black, the crew watched the blue-green sphere grow from a small gem into a living globe. At first sight, it appeared serene. Yet their instruments disagreed. Energy distortions circled the plateaus. Entire sections of forest showed signs of displacement, as if something burrowed beneath the roots and shifted soil in unnatural ways. When they entered orbit, an Ithil envoy made contact. Her name was Lyra. Her frame was slight. Her face held a gentle structure, shaped by generations of peaceful life. She spoke with grace and caution, and the crew of Resolve listened quietly. The Ithil were ruled by a council of elders, who once believed that every threat could be solved with reason. Yet their enemy did not reason. It consumed. It adapted. It waited. They called it the burrower, though it was not one creature. It was a collective of predatory life forms that tunneled under settlements and surfaced in coordinated assaults. The Ethil lacked the biology to fight underground. They could not withstand the density of soil. Their structures crumbled. Their people vanished. Mara watched Lyra speak and saw desperation that reminded her of old Earth tragedies. The Ethil expected guardians with shining armor and righteous intent. Instead, they received humans with hardened eyes. Their expectations meant nothing to the officers. Their duty was simple: survive and render judgment. Terran was among the first sent to ground. He walked beside Lina and Yalin as they entered a devastated village where buildings lay collapsed into heaps. The soil smelled like rot. Something had torn through the earth. Terran knelt and ran his hand through the ground. He felt the faint tremble of tunnels beneath. Yalin scanned the surroundings and shook his head slowly. This was no random attack. It was systematic. He marked the pattern and noted the tunnel angles. Lina watched the perimeter with her hand near her sidearm. Nothing moved, yet the air felt wrong. An Ithil elder approached them with slow steps. His name was Rello. He thanked them with a careful bow, unsure how to address beings whose posture and presence felt like unfinished storms. Rello guided them deeper into the village. He explained how the burrowers emerged every night. The Ithil fortified their homes with wooden barriers, which meant nothing to creatures that slipped through the earth. Every time the Ithil rebuilt, the attacks grew stronger. They whispered to neighboring worlds, but no help came. No one wanted to expend resources on a threat hidden beneath soil. Humanity did, that evening. Terran sat inside a temporary shelter built by the crew. He listened to distant vibrations in the ground. Beneath his boots, something shifted. It did not move like an animal. It moved like a network of living threads, each step calculated, each shift organized. Lina studied the sky while adjusting her scanner modules. She believed the burrowers were not just animals, but a hive organism with distributed intelligence. Yalin prepared his exoframe. Mara, who had joined them on ground, reviewed old Earth studies on subterranean predators. When night fell, the burrowers arrived. The first sign was a pulsing rumble. Soil cracked. Homes shuddered. Ithil villagers hid behind stone circles, etched with protective symbols. But symbols meant nothing to the predators that emerged. They came like shadows rising from ground. Their limbs were long. Their bodies were dark and angular. Their mouths split into ridges of serrated edges. They attacked silently. No hiss, no roar. Only the wet scraping of limbs against soil. The Ithil screamed for help. Humans did not scream. They moved. Yalin stepped forward in his exoframe and activated the ground anchors. The frame drove metal spikes into the soil and pulsed vibration waves. These waves disoriented the burrowers. They stumbled, claws twitching. Lina used her wrist modulators to blast bursts of compressed air that knocked attackers off the Ithil defenders. Terran used shock batons calibrated to maximum output. Each strike dropped a burrower twitching. The creatures adapted quickly. They split into flanking groups. They attempted to circle the human line, but humanity understood circling. They survived pack predators long before they reached the stars. Yalin roared a command. Lina pivoted. Terran moved to intercept. The humans struck with precision. Each motion was calculated. Each step anticipated the next enemy approach. The Ithil watched with wide eyes. They saw not guardians, but forces of nature. After a brutal hour, the burrowers retreated underground. The village stood intact. Not a single Ithil life was lost. Yet the soil quivered again, promising more assaults. The next morning, Mara led a council with Rello and other Ithil elders. She did not promise safety. She explained that humanity could eliminate the threat, but doing so required descending into the heart of the hive. The Ithil paled at the idea. No one who entered the tunnels ever returned. Taron studied the ground map and proposed a route. Lena suggested using seismic lures to misdirect the burrowers. Yalin prepared explosives engineered to collapse tunnel branches without sinking the entire village. Lyra watched them plan and realized something crucial. They were not gentle beings. They were not saviors from myth. They were shaped by a world that tried to kill them from birth. Earth had created monsters with the discipline to act purposefully. The humans entered the tunnels at dawn. The underground passages were suffocating. Soil weighed heavy from every direction. The tunnels narrowed and twisted. The heat rose. The air thinned. Yet humans continued. They breathed through filters. They adapted to pressure. Their boots pressed into shifting ground. The burrowers emerged in waves inside those tight corridors. The creatures were faster here. They scuttled across ceilings and walls. Their attacks grew bolder. Terran swung his baton and shattered a jaw ridge. Lena fired a compact pulse that blew a creature backward. Xiaolin crushed one with the weight of his exoframe. Hours passed in the dark. The humans pressed forward. Their lights cast long beams that trembled against packed earth. At last they reached the hive core. It was a chamber carved over centuries. Burrowers clung to every surface. Their central mass pulsed with bioluminescent veins. Mara arrived from the rear squad with a plan. They planted seismic disruptors around the chamber. Each device pulsed low-frequency waves that broke the hive network communication. The burrowers staggered in confusion. Jalin placed the final charge. When activate,